All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, for episode 5 of our deep dive into Shiva and Parvati, we're exploring a reality where two completely separate melodies perfectly merge into one single unified truth. If you've ever found yourself wondering how ancient traditions visualize the absolute, fundamental nature of reality, and honestly, the true nature of love, well, you are in exactly the right place.
Think about this for a second. Out of all the incredible sculptures, paintings, and images created across thousands of years of human history, there's one specific form that has fascinated us arguably more than any other. It brings up a massive question. What is the single most mysterious image in Hindu iconography? Now, you might be guessing it's some multi-headed beast or a glowing weapon, but no. It's actually a body that is exactly half man and half woman. We are talking about one single physical body housing two completely distinct natures.
On the left side, you have the female aspect. She's graceful, she's beautifully adorned, and she is the absolute literal embodiment of Shakti, which is cosmic energy. Then, right there on the right side, you have the male aspect. He's ash-smeared, his hair is matted, he's crowned with a crescent moon, representing Shiva, the ultimate cosmic consciousness. This setup is basically telling us that the universe isn't just one boring, static thing. It's an eternal, incredibly dynamic conversation between these two exact natures. They aren't just standing next to each other, they are, quite literally, one being. This is Ardhanarishvara, the half-female lord.
Section 1. The Stubborn Sage's Error.
Okay, so to truly grasp why this merged form even exists, we have to take a trip up to Mount Kailash. This is the snowy, mountainous abode of the divine, and here is where we meet a sage named Bringi. Now, Bringi is extremely devoted, but he's also severely flawed in how he understands the world. Here's the deal with him. He's what you'd probably call an extreme fanatic of Shiva, like aggressively so. When he gets to Kailash, he starts his sacred walk, his circumambulation, a ritual called the Pradakshina, but he does something that is just so incredibly awkward. He circles Shiva alone, pointedly and deliberately ignoring the goddess Parvati, who is literally sitting right next to him. He's essentially trying to take a knife and split the divine couple right down the middle, deciding he's only going to worship the masculine aspect of the universe.
So obviously, Parvati notices this right away. But she doesn't freak out. With this really quiet, profound power, she just turns to Shiva and says, he will complete his worship and leave without acknowledging that one half of what he's worshiping is also me. Now Shiva, he treats the whole thing with total equanimity. He just finds it kind of philosophically amusing rather than upsetting, and he basically asks Parvati, well, what do you want me to do about it? Her response is perfect. She tells him she's going to handle it herself.
Section 2. The Divine Blockade. As Bringi keeps up his deeply flawed, one-sided worship, Parvati just scoots closer to Shiva and firmly grabs his arm. Now Bringi starts making these frantic, escalating attempts to bypass her. First, he literally tries to just squeeze right between them, but she holds firm. Then, and this is where it gets crazy, using his mystical powers, he shrinks himself down into a snake, thinking he can slither through. Nope, she completely traps the path. Finally, out of pure desperation, he turns into a tiny little bee to just fly right between them. But there's just no way. She effortlessly, completely blocks him at every single turn. Bringi is totally frustrated and just incredibly confused.
That's when she stops the frantic sage dead in his tracks and drops this monumental truth bomb on him. She says, Shiva without Shakti is a corpse. Shakti without Shiva is formless. She's telling him point blank that they aren't two separate entities who just happen to pull up chairs next to each other. They are the exact same reality, just expressing itself through two apparent forms. She makes it crystal clear that his worship isn't just flawed, it's entirely incomplete if he doesn't grasp this one fundamental fact.
Section 3. Two become one.
In direct response to Bringi's stubborn ignorance, something incredible happens. The deep, rich purple of Shiva and the radiant glowing gold of Parvati visually merge together. They seamlessly become one single entity, Ardhanarishvara. This is the ultimate, finalized merged form of the divine. It physically, tangibly represents the completely inseparable union of cosmic consciousness, Shiva, and cosmic energy, Parvati. It's one form, one truth, one singular reality. Seeing this magnificent, completely unified form, total understanding just floods through Bringi like a rushing river. He literally drops to his knees in absolute awe. The profound realization finally hits him, and he admits, I have been worshipping half a truth, and half a truth is not truth at all. It is the most dangerous kind of error. He finally sees the massive mistake he made in trying to treat consciousness and energy as things that could ever be separated.
Section 4. Consciousness and energy. Let's zoom out from the myth for a second and really break down the core so what of this whole union. On one side, we have consciousness, represented by Shiva. Think of it as pure awareness, the deep, wild stillness of the universe. But here's the catch. Awareness absolutely cannot express itself without energy. On the flip side, we have energy, represented by Parvati. This is expression. It's the creative dynamism that makes up reality. But guess what? Energy cannot be directed without awareness. You literally cannot have one without the other. They need each other to exist. After they eventually separate back into two forms, Parvati shares a very direct teaching. And definitely pay attention here, because this isn't just ancient poetry. It is the fundamental blueprint of our reality. She explains that every man carries the feminine within. Every woman carries the masculine within. Every single thought you have contains its exact opposite, and every creation inherently holds the seed of its own dissolution. Parvati is basically saying this divine merging isn't some magic parlor trick. It is the absolute structure of our existence.
Section 5. The true nature of love.
Now, shifting from the grand cosmic scale to something deeply intimate, Shiva steps in and delivers the ultimate definition of love. He lays it out so cleanly and directly. He says, "True love is the recognition of what was always one, momentarily experiencing itself as two, for the joy of reunion." Guys, this is arguably the most radical idea in this entire spiritual tradition. True love isn't two separate, fractured halves wandering around desperately trying to find each other. It is a singular, already whole reality that playfully dances as two, simply so it can experience the absolute joy of recognizing itself again. That is the true deepest meaning of Ardhanarishvara.
We've seen them as brilliant philosophers, as the literal embodiment of the universe, and as an inseparable unity. But there is one more dimension of their love we haven't touched on yet, and it's a dimension that literally shaped the spiritual geography of an entire civilization. So I'm going to leave you with this provocative question to chew on. What profound dimension of this love built the most sacred city in the world? Make sure to join us for our next explainer, where we're going to explore the epic story of Kashi and discover exactly why the ultimate architectural expression of a husband's devotion still stands to this very day. Thanks so much for learning with me today,